Listen, it started.
In time. Okay, this is August the 17th. This is the Board of Richland County Commissioners. I am Darrell Banks here with fellow commissioners Cliff Mears and Tony Vero, our clerk Stacy Crawl, and Nikki Harless, and Greg Kevin Goshi, Rachel Troyer, Carl Hunnell, and I think Al's on the phone.
Yes.
Yes, okay. And our first point of business is Children's Services would like to join the county health plan. You were on it at one time. And you left. Explain to us.
First year on our own.
So,
Come up to
Give
the
your
table,
plea.
please.
yeah, come to the table so we can hear you better and
It's easier to say no that way.
go ahead, tell us why you so much why you want to, I guess why you want to join or
Because we have not fared well since that time. For example, our single PPO plan went up 89% since,
That it?
holy man.
and then our family went up 75%. And those are most of our employees, the plans that they're on. So,
Oh,
and then we also had to pay some of the overrun balance.
Yeah, the premiums that they gave us were not high enough to cover the claims, so we had to deposit an additional $500,000 over the course of that 5-year term.
what are your premiums on those two types of, how do they compare to our premiums?
They're definitely higher. I don't have the actual numbers with me, but
Yours are higher?
yes.
And our deductibles are higher.
Yet you're not meeting.
They didn't have enough money to pay because their insurance went up so much, so they had to put additional money into their health insurance fund.
Yes.
Tune of about $500,000.
Yeah, 82,000 in 2017, 262,000 2019, and 188,000 in 2020. And we're still not back to zero.
Oh, Kevin, I know you were the fiscal director. Nikki, you were not the director, but you were around. I have to ask, what was the thought process in leaving the county at that time? I mean, even if you're not an insurance expert, you're going to go to a standalone capacity. The risk for swings, good and bad, but not taking into account just the economy, the nature of health insurance, the business. I mean, you don't have to do health insurance for a living to know that's a risk.
Sure.
I'm curious as to know what was the thought process at the time to leave the county benefit plan?
We just thought that we could find a better plan on our own, but clearly that was not the case. I mean, the first year, the premiums were much lower, or at least a little bit lower. I can't remember exactly how much lower, but they were definitely lower. Then we get, partway through the year and they tell us, well, your premiums aren't enough to cover your claims. We're going to need some extra money deposited. So we had to do that. And then go along for a couple more years and they say, premiums, even though we've increased them, still aren't enough to cover your claims. So we need you to deposit some more money. And it was, like I said, $262,000.
Rachel, what's SEPCO say?
SEPCO stated that there would not be an increase to our coverage with Children's Services joining us. But also SEPCO has agreed to, their board has agreed to divvy out, I believe it was $1 million amongst all of the counties to continue with our to help with that, so there wouldn't be an increase either. So.
They
so
shared
at the end of
member
the day-
equity.
Yes, correct. Shared member
We
equity.
thank them, but those are member dollars, so
It is.
sort of like the stimulus coming back to the taxpayers, right?
But Subco did get their information and they, weighed it with what the cost would be. And they said that there would not be an increase to our plan.
When we switched to Subco, how much did our premiums go up? Do you remember?
It was quite a bit. For some reason, I'm thinking like 12%, but we were looking at 18 to 20% if we would have stayed on.
I think that was a deciding factor for children's services. Since the premiums were going to go up 12%,
Mhm.
they were thinking they could do better. And they did that first year.
And then,
It never even, it was always above 12%.
But since then, we haven't seen a large increase.
Nope.
no,
We have every year.
it's important to be good partners. I think there needs to be a little bit of understanding that we hope that there won't be another departure. But if our premiums aren't going to go up, they're a county agency. Talk about partnership with agencies. I'm good with it.
Much. Yeah, yours went up that much. You had that bad of, at least according to the people you went through, they think it was that bad of loss. Of course, Subco's looked at it, and that makes all the difference in the world to me. I'm a little apprehensive and leaning towards do it, of course. But a little apprehensive when you've had that kind of showing in the last few years. But I'm not sure how much of it just isn't the insurance companies that you're working through. But if Subco says our premiums aren't going to go up, and it certainly benefits you and therefore the taxpayers. So, yeah.
Reason not to.
I'll make a motion because we like Nikki and Kevin so much that, and this can be, Stacy, can we get them on for next year or when would this be effective?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Signing up for 2022.
I'll make a motion effective 2022 that we accept the Richland County Children's Services Agency as part of the Richland County Health Insurance Plan under Subco, or with Subco, excuse me.
Does that become effective January 1? Okay, I'll second that.
The wellness plan starts sooner than that, so we'll just provide all the information to
We
them.
won't be able to start the plan until
that's
January
right.
1st, but anything that they do from August 15th to that date can go towards that.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Let's see here. Yes,
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Thank you.
On behalf of the agency and the employees, we thank you,
you're
Commissioner.
quite welcome. It is a pleasure. Thank Rachel. She's picking up additional work.
Yes, thanks, Rachel.
Stacy's.
Insurance is on you. Okay.
And then you have to, if the premiums go up, we're gonna bill you the balance because we'll blame it on you guys, then, right?
Is that on the record?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no, okay.
And,
Your board just needs to inform payroll what
you guys are gonna have to get with the auditor's office.
percentage of the premium your employees will pay.
Okay.
So that is up to your board. Just make sure it's communicated and copy me because I do the spreadsheets to try to give to the auditor on how much is.
Take it out.
Yep.
Five? 95?
Sounds like you.
We have several vacancies if you want to put that in there for caseworkers. 8.
You're hiring.
We have 8 caseworker vacancies.
Sounds like You already informed your insurance company?
Yes.
Yeah, I said, what if we said no? That's what I said yesterday. I said, what if we said no?
Man, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That guy will be sad. I
And B.
have to let him know.
There is no plan B from now on.
I know.
So your employees will have to fill out a paper form this year. This will be the only year that they have to fill out.
Okay.
And then following years. everything will- And with that also, is, you do have the option, and you would say you probably choose that also to fall back on our flex spending, which you would receive the administration policy. The assistance programs and our FMLA as well. That part is up to you guys if you want to be part of that.
Who's your FMLA?
We're at Sedgwick.
Try to sign it right.
Isn't the admin fee 100 grand a year?
That's it.
That's the fee.
That's the fee.
Who's your life insurance, sir?
Sun Life. Yes,
Sun
also,
Life.
it's also. If you want to.
Right.
I mean, of course, you do pay for your portion, but.
Mhm.
Kevin, Nikki, I would recommend getting with Pat and his benefits team sooner rather than later. We're already heading into September here. Time is ticking.
Yes. We will.
Welcome back.
Thank you
Any other
for
questions?
accepting us.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
It's 9:41. We have a few minutes to start on the other. Can we get a certify the record of proceedings for August 12th?
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
And can we get a motion to approve the requisite?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears,
Yes.
And can we get a motion to approve the transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
To designate Corsa voting representative and alternative.
It is with much joy and excitement that I move to have Daryl Banks replace Marilyn John as the Corsa voting representative.
I'll be glad to.
And your alternate,
And we can keep Kelly the alternate.
That's second.
I'll abstain from that.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Uh,
No.
Okay. And we have a Dayspring employee
We have
that
two.
we want to authorize the paid administration leave for a Dayspring employee. I believe there's a letter explaining the situation.
We have two of them, D. Add an add-on.
There's two different employees.
Well, we didn't do the last week's. Okay. Well, can we do them together, please?
Yes.
So moved.
What's the story behind this? Need any
So
explanation?
there's a process as a public employee, when there's potential discipline and a put employee on leave, then HR assesses the matter, puts them on leave, but we have to formally approve it on the record.
I'll second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Yes.
Okay, it is 9:44. We will stand in recess till I got something else. Carl, Al, 9:45, we'll meet again. We will resume our meeting at 10 o'clock. Okay, this is the Board of Richland County Commissioners, and we are back in session. We have been joined from the press from Archie McMillan of WMFD and Larry Wyrick, Village of Belleville Administrator, and Terry Brinkus, Mayor of the Village of Belleville. Why don't you move up to our seats up here?
It's my favorite mayor of Belleville.
I like Mr. Smith.
And this is for the solar panel.
I got him.
That as well.
Okay, well, this is the tornado siren we'd like to go with. We have two different locations that we're looking at. One is right beside Friendstool Construction. And the other one is up on the top of Hamilton Hills. So right now, we're just figuring out between the two locations, what's going to be the best spot. We understand that the higher you get it, the better it is. So if at all possible, we're going to try to hit for that, the top of Hamilton Hills. So, but anyway, just coming back to find out if you're still on board with splitting the cost with us and how you would like that to be billed.
I think we agreed that regardless of Jefferson Township's willingness to participate in safety measures for their own residents, we'll figure it out, right? Because safety of our community is paramount. So the only question I had then was settling on the proper siren. I know you had the solar option, but then I also went back and looked at our original quote, just from Federal Signal, which wasn't solar, right?
That's correct.
So I'm curious as to why we want to go with solar. And then also I understand Vasu's fairly confident that, hey, we'd be good with the used solar, but here's my thinking. Look, these things don't go off that often.
Right.
And the last thing we want is for them not to go off regardless of how confident we are in the solar system. So my thoughts were when it comes to $5,000 extra charge, if we decide to go with the solar and we split $2,500, that's a small price to pay for the one time the system doesn't work.
And it's got twice the range.
And it's got twice the range.
Right.
So I'm just curious as to your thoughts on why you're kind of liking the solar option as opposed to our initial option that was initially provided by Federal Signal.
It pretty much boils down to the monthly bill that's up to near, I don't know, $75 a month. Who's going to pay the bill? I just thought that the solar, and this also was recommended by Vasu. This is the units they're putting in right now more than the hardwire.
I think it's $75 a month if you hardwire.
No, if you use the solar, that's what the monthly bill is for the electric, or right around there.
For the electric one, not.
The electric bill. Yeah,
Yes.
It's the electric bill between $50 and $75 a month.
Right, so it's hardwired.
Yes.
It's hardwired.
Right, so $75 is your electric bill
Yes, that's why I just
every month.
thought that the solar power would be the best. And that does have a battery backup with it. It is always charging the battery backup that comes with it. It's not just,
There's no hardwire backup,
that is correct.
battery backup.
And it's also easier to place that pole wherever we'd like to place it, you know.
Am I correct that the township did still offer a place to put it at the fire station?
Yes, that is correct.
I was under the impression they were gonna let us hook up electric there. I'm not saying they said they would pay for it.
Yes, that is, they didn't, they kept asking who was going to pay the electric bill. So that was never, once they said that they weren't interested in participating, then that was pretty much a moot point after that, in my opinion.
And the experience that we had in the township, the one we have, it had to have its own meter. I mean, you couldn't hook it into an existing building. It had to be directly wired with its own meter, because you get one separate bill for that siren.
Is that why it's $75? Because very seldom are you going to use an electricity.
And yeah, I mean, that's just the charge that I know we get at the township, somewhere between $50 and $75.
Larry's also a Perry Township trustee.
So that's where that number came from. I checked with our fiscal officer. And when when Vasu actually talked to them when they were out servicing our siren in the parking lot. And they're the one, that's when they start talking about the solar option. And they'd put one in Johnsville. They're somewhere near the new fire station and they've had zero problems with it. And my question was the same as Commissioner Vero's. Well, what's to say that it's going to be charged all the time and ready to use? And their claim is even on a day like today, it's not necessarily sun, it just has to have daylight to keep it charging. So even on a day like today, it's charging. And the convenience of not having to run the wire and everything, depending on where the location is selected, it does limit you to.
Aren't you concerned about the range though, Larry? Talking about a half mile. I mean, wasn't the whole point we want to reach as many people as possible?
Right.
This is the first I heard about the difference in the range.
But I honestly never picked up on there was a difference between the two sirens.
Yeah, it says at the top of the quote, siren has a 1 mile effective range. And if you look at the other solar option, effective range is approximately a half mile.
That's the used one.
That's the used option. That's the one.
Right, that we disregard altogether.
So we do not, we're definitely looking at the,
New.
okay.
I have to ask you about a line item here. It says freight charger. I assume that's freight charges. $12 for freight
That makes,
seems really high.
and also you're considering the pole as well.
I guess that's why.
Yeah, it's not the average freight.
So help me understand then also the extended, where all the numbers are the same across.
Okay,
But then if you look at the ES24 line item, the battery,
yes,
you have list price, then the price, and then extended. And the extended is the only one out of all these items that is substantially more.
it's
Different.
4 times the battery. See that?
Batteries.
Of 4 batteries. Duh.
That's okay.
Jeez.
I do stuff like that all the time.
Yesterday going, what am I missing?
That is there's 4 batteries involved there.
Where's this coming from?
Vasu?
Shipping from?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm sorry. And they're ordering in just like the last federal signal.
So that difference in radius is between the used and the new,
Yes,
not between.
that's what you had me a little nervous on. I said, the way I understood it was the same between the new and the solar and the electric. That's the way I understood it.
So we lose range if we go with the used one, but we have the same range if we.
Right.
That we want to go with the.
May not be able to answer this question. Maybe it's in the specs. But when you say a 1 mile range, if I got the siren here, is that a mile this way and a mile this way?
The entire
So-
radius.
The radius.
It turns the whole way around.
It's
Oh,
on,
that's right. It wrote.
Yes.
So it's a 1 mile.
1 mile all the way around. Yeah. And it also is affected by, of course, things in the way, of course, and what that is like, for instance, if there was a hill in the way, that would block that sound to a degree.
Yeah. So I'm saying if this is the radius, and it's 1 mile this way, you're really covering a 2 mile circle.
Yes, that is correct. And that's what we were hoping for, to get it on top of Hamilton Hills, because there is nothing in the way,
But how are you determining what is the best place?
We went over that with Vasu. I said, okay, if it's at the fire station, right there, of course, the fire station is very tall and it's going to block that sound. So we thought if we moved it over to the ends of Brenstul's property, there's a billboard there that's really open and there's nothing directly in the way. That's why we talked to Brenstul about moving it there. But when we asked Vasu, is there any better spot for that? He said, if you can get 100 feet up, then it's a better location. If it's under 100 feet, he said, don't bother. It'll do the same thing. But if it's over 100 feet up, then it'll go out, of course, further. And that's exactly, it's certainly more than 100 feet up at the top of Hamilton Hills. So that's why we're picking a location up there to get the best coverage.
Is that the decision then? You've decided on that location?
Yes. Well, we still are in between the two. We're still waiting for, also, there's a couple of neighbors that we need to talk to first. To make sure that, the location that we picked is not going to cause, a problem. But at this point, we have two different locations. If it's not on top of Hamilton Hills, then it'll be on the Brenstall property down below. For the top there.
And do you need an easement to put it there?
We do.
Yes.
And, okay,
They're willing to do that.
you've already talked to them.
Yes.
So what is the final
Yeah.
Dollar.
estimate that you would like to go with?
That is the quotation, the quote is for $24,578.38.
You divide that by two, Stacy, it's 12,289.19.
But you need to add $18 because you don't have a core battery that you're returning, correct?
Not following.
Okay, we've got the 4 batteries, the third line item down. When you buy a car battery, you're charged additional if you don't turn in your old one. So this one looks like additional $18 if there's no core.
That is,
You're not turning in 4 cores, so you're gonna have 18 times 4 added to that total,
It'd
correct?
be 9 for us, but I guess you're right.
yes.
So then we would add that plus 36. And then that comes to 1,2,325.19.
Thank you.
Mayor, thanks for all your hard work on this, regardless of Jefferson Township's reluctance. We need to do this. Had tornadoes impact this community and recently and in the Belleville area. At this time, I'll make a motion that we use our capital projects fund to pay half the cost of the quotation number 201005655, which is the upgraded solar power tornado siren.
That is correct.
Are we willing to do this for every municipality?
We believe we already have coverage via the other sirens. If we have some other lack of coverage areas, then we'll discuss that accordingly.
Okay.
Because safety is paramount, I will second that gladly.
Thank you.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes,
Commissioner Mears.
and you'll work with Rick Evans at EMA to make sure.
Well, thank you very much.
Always nice to see our friends from the valley.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, the media's got questions here.
Unfortunately, I was not here when this was discussed with the first time. What is Jefferson Township's reluctance or not to participate?
The way we understand it is they feel that there's enough, the technology of cell phones will cover those alerts for the residents, and they think that this is archaic or it's just old technology that's not needed. That's the way I have understood it from them.
When do you anticipate then with this approval today, when do you anticipate the siren being operational?
I know it takes, the lead time is 6 weeks to receive it, and that we're hoping to have it in by the end of the year.
The old fashioned ones, like the one that's down at the village hall,
That's
is that supposed to, you have any idea what that's, how far that,
range.
yeah.
I do not know,
No idea.
especially with the, I know that this is a similar model, but it's not as old as that, of course, but it is a similar model. It has the same as you can see. And I'm sure you've noticed it before. It has that same like structure to the front there. So
I was, how that is Stoats's. I was at Stoats's one time when it went off and I was amazed how loud that thing is. Even where I live and there's one up in our neighborhood,
yes,
can't hardly hear it.
There's a lot, I mean, the one at the village hall has a lot of obstacles to get out
Yeah,
anywhere. I mean, it's every house down there and the buildings.
it comes in Stoats's parking lot. You can hear that.
that's good.
The one up on Edmonton, there in the cul-de-sac, it's, you probably hear more from it than the one down at Village Hall because of all the buildings and stuff it has to get through. That one up there is clear. I mean, it's above everything.
Yeah.
Certainly brings the hair up on the back of my grandkids' heads when it goes off.
How does the signal come through? I mean, who notifies? Who flips the switch, make it come on?
The EMA,
The EMA.
EMA does that.
Yes.
county EMA, they're the ones that activate them.
They activate them on Wednesday at 4:00,
Last Wednesday of the month,
Test them.
4 o'clock
once a month.
test.
How is that done? Is that like cell phone or is it done from an office or by?
I honestly don't know. I know I asked about, can they do one and not another, like the northern part of the county?
Yeah.
And they said no, they hit the button, they all go off.
Well,
Throughout the county?
they're all connected.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I don't-
Limits will go off when yours goes off.
Yes.
Okay.
'cause, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make, it would be nicer if you could do that, but I don't understand. I don't
I
understand
think it's just safety
the
precaution.
technology of all of it, you know. I'm just glad they're doing a maintenance on them and going around checking them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Well, that's not. We will, unless somebody else has any questions. Al, you got any questions? Okay, we will recess until 10:30. is the Richland County Board of Commissioners, and we are back in session. And we have been joined by Matt Finkengild and Jane Zimmerman of the Board of Elections. And they are here to talk about what we pay our poll workers. Got their hand out.
Didn't they just have their hand out not
They
too long
were
ago?
here asking for money not too long ago.
The prior co-board director, she was wonderful. She just,
I know, got left for us.
Out there for 75 years and never
yeah.
come to ask
She was
money.
a true fiscal conservative.
I think Stacy provided you with the worksheet for the proposed polling officials, polling PEOs, all kind of different names that we have for them, depending on their duties. They have not had a increase in pay since October 2014, 7 years. So I think it's time that they have a little increase. It comes out to $15 per position.
How many positions total?
So we have 83 polling locations. We have 4 positions at each location. So that comes out to 49. Comes out to 49.80 per election. And then you also have an increase,
$50 per polling location per election.
actually 60, but
60 poll, so it's 50 times 60.
there's 83 polling locations.
Okay.
4 workers per location. So it's 332 workers at $15 increase per worker, which comes out to $49.80 per election.
What was the, okay, so you're saying it comes out to $15 per worker?
Correct.
What was it prior to that? I'm showing increases of 8.5%, 9%, 10.7%, 11.5%, 20%, and 35%. So what's the average? What's that?
You're getting a 20% increase.
The 25 to 30?
Well, that's for the
Training.
training.
Right.
We're not going to be training 330
Right.
at that rate.
Looking for, so just for the workers, what's the dollar increase per workers? If it's going to 15, what was it prior?
But it's got right there's the current.
Right,
Yeah, I didn't.
Right, but I guess.
I just ran the increase. I think
didn't-
that's what you guys would be interested in.
$15 an hour, they're not gonna be.
15 per election per worker.
Not
Okay,
an hour.
not
They
an
don't
hour.
even earn
Per day?
an hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the whole day,
Right, but is there a setup day and then an election day? So they get
all together.
Yeah,
So-
they put in the
An hour
Monday
usually
before
on Monday
at least.
and 15 or 16 hours on Tuesday.
the total pay a VLM, whatever that is.
That's a voting location manager.
Thank you. Those acronyms. The total they'll get for an election would be 190.
Correct. Plus if they did training.
And there's no-
Yes, training's separate, but that includes the Monday setup and Tuesday all day on election day. Their election day starts Tuesday morning at 5:30 a.m. And usually they're dropping off supplies at 8:30 or 9 p.m.
Okay,
So it's a long day.
what's the $49.80?
Per election.
I know.
$4,980.
Oh,
That would be the increase per election.
$1,980.
Correct.
Okay,
And if everyone attended class, that would be an increase of 1,660. So altogether, you're looking at an increase of $6,640 per election.
And you have 2 elections.
$1,640
Correct.
per election.
Correct. So 2 elections a year, you're looking at the total increase of $13,280.
so you said $1,660 for training per election.
If everyone trained, which that doesn't always
That was
happen.
my next question. So you've had people that have done this for years, they don't go to training.
Right? Sometimes like this last election, it was not mandatory. The May primary. You get into the
Primary.
elections, it is, mandatory.
So this is a primary or a general
Correct.
or a special. If you have. Okay.
I was thinking 2020. Secretary of State LaRose, after he canceled the election, postponed it with the governor. I had asked him if they were going to compensate counties for their handling of the election. in typical Secretary of State LaRose speak, oh, we'll look into taking care of you and you give that commissioner my cell phone and he can call me. And so I reached out. I never got an answer back, and nor did we ever receive any compensation for their mishap, which is number two. Said the election was canceled when it wasn't, until the governor then said, we don't listen to the court and we're going to cancel the election anyway. So forgive my sarcasm. So I just.
Well, we remember it
Well,
well.
I mean, if you can't get through to LaRose, I mean,
You recall his liaison, who I don't think she's his liaison anymore, sat down and said it was the governor's call to postpone the election, and she was scared beyond belief. So what I didn't say is I literally was on a call the next day with the Secretary of State who said canceling the election was the right thing to do. So how quickly his tune changed. So
well, if you can't get through to LaRose, since you guys almost look alike, I don't know who can.
someone said that the other, you're not the only one.
Yeah, we gotta hide this picture because
There's
there,
got to be one.
know why we only have a picture of Commissioner Vero and not.
It's amazing. It's amazing, the governor and Secretary of State.
Cause I remember that you were in Belleville the night before the election.
Yep. And about 11:30 at night.
11:30 at night, we were trying to get the one ready at the Lutheran church.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's also,
And Daryl helped wheel him in. I tried getting Tony. I
I
tried
was up.
him out to do it, but Daryl was there, going 20 machines in, sweating.
Gonzalez called and I says, I'll get the boys and we'll come down, and we did.
I was
Charles.
knocking on doors
We're down.
very
Shut up.
prime the day before saying, and Nabov goes, you're knocking on doors. Let's go. I'm like, yeah, the election isn't over yet. And then the governor says, we don't have the power to cancel election. And he did anyway.
So I did present this to our board.
Oh, I'm sure they approved it.
They did
Mhm.
unanimously,
Mhm.
4-0. So now I'm bringing it to you guys.
So
They earn every penny.
I know they do.
Yeah, they
Very
were
lucky.
hours they put.
Dedicated poll workers we have. Many of them's been there for many
They
years.
don't
Fire
get
McGinty.
money.
How do we fire McGinty? We do this if we
Never.
fire McGinty? Just one quick question, and I agree. And securing poll workers is of extreme importance. So we need to make sure that while it's not a huge incentive, it's nice to know that this at least shows them that their work is appreciated.
Mhm.
The only other question I had is where did you come up with the pay amounts? Did you look at comparables from other poll workers, or how did you come up with the $15 increase?
Basically, we just went roughly around the 10% of what they make. Since it has been 7 years since they've had an increase. We are in line with other counties. I have looked at the other counties' websites to see what they pay.
Some are lower, some are higher.
So, yeah.
And you also got some have a separate mileage.
Mhm.
We don't. It's built into it.
Right.
Which saves money because, if they're charging you 55 cents a mile,
Right.
8 cents a mile,
Coming
you're
So where
Plymouth
we
and Belleville.
stand in the pack, are we midpoint with
about midpoint. Yeah,
this increase would be?
we're pretty much status quo.
Tell me about how difficult it is to get poll workers.
This
last
year,
year
we'll
was-
find out. Last year was
Last year
not.
It's difficult to find.
Odd years are always tougher.
You don't have the excitement,
Yeah.
you know,
They don't even know.
during presidential, you have excitement and
A lot of volunteers or.
Oh,
last
yeah, they
year,
crawl
last
out
year
of
was,
work.
I mean, we had a lot of young volunteers.
Yeah,
that-
we were turning, I've never, ever in 20 some years ever had.
Sounds like money's not the issue then, Daryl. Is that what I'm hearing?
On odd years, it absolutely can be an issue.
Yeah.
Because you don't have all the excitement. People don't want to participate as much.
So presidential,
Presidential's no problem.
no problem.
Yeah.
And even state,
Yeah, next year should
gubernatorial
be a
years
problem.
they're not too bad. But your odd years, people
Primary is difficult.
It-
can be if people aren't back from
Yeah.
Florida.
Excitement, right?
Presidential primaries can be especially.
Yours will be on the ballot. There'll be a lot of excitement. We'll have to turn poll workers away.
Already had a couple cancellations, to be honest.
Yeah.
They already called.
You probably had more poll workers than you did voters.
Yes. This last primary we did, because not every precinct was in.
Am I remember right?
Yeah.
Little,
Ten turnout?
not quite. Like
Less than-
4.86.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was not a pretty sight.
I think we'll be 25 to 30% for this election.
So we divide the cost of the poll workers by the number of voters and pretty high cost.
Well, I would entertain a motion to pay increase
So moved.
I'll second.
as presented by our officials at the board.
Effective.
2022.
2022.
Okay.
We're watching the budget for this year.
And you guys are so budget conscious. We appreciate the
You're welcome.
generosity.
No problem.
Taxpayers too.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Oh, yes.
Any questions?
I do have one other.
Yeah, I've got.
Oh, here we go.
What, with the increase, what does that raise the rate to?
There's different positions, Al. So for voting location manager, it would take the rate to 190. Presiding judges would be 180. Presiding assistants would be 155. And clerks would be 145.
Okay, and that covers election day and any work previous day.
That includes election day and the setup day on Monday, which takes about an hour to an hour and a half to set up. They do get paid separate if they come to station training.
Yeah. But like the PJs and the VLMs, they come and pick up supplies,
Mhm.
set up, and then on election night, they are bringing back supplies with the presiding assistant.
Right.
So that's
And-
why they get a little more, they have a
and-
lot more responsibility.
And they organize, what time to set up with the polling location. They organize with all the workers, of what times to be there, make sure they're going to be there. And most importantly, what food everyone's bringing.
Is the clerk the same as the poll worker?
Yes, yes.
So there's 2 clerks at each polling location, a presiding assistant at each location, and then either a presiding judge or a voting location manager. So if there's 3 precincts in one location, there's 1 voting location manager and 2 presiding judges. Voting location managers kind of over the whole thing, all the precincts. That's why they make a little bit more versus a presiding judge.
2 clerks
Yes,
location.
correct. And 1 presiding assistant.
Everything is balanced. It's all bipartisan. Like if you have a Republican presiding judge, you'll have a Democrat presiding assistant.
Any
Yeah.
other question? Al?
That's all I had.
I do have one other thing for the board. I have the
Doesn't cost
Triad software license agreement.
You're billful.
Jeez, Carl, hide your wall.
Or you guys have already allocated the money. It's okay.
Like they have to.
The Triad voter registration new database.
Oh,
Triad.
yeah, you showed me.
So I have it for you guys to sign. It has been approved by prosecuting assistant Andrew Keller. And our board approved me signing it last meeting. So if I could get your guys' signatures.
We just can't wait.
Good.
Oh, no, that's really cool. I you showed
I can't wait. for
Amazing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice stuff.
It,
Other? Hearing no other, 10:44, we stand adjourned.
Yeah.
Bill McGinty's fired in lieu of pay raises.